It's time now to connect to Congress. Once again, I'm joined now by Congressman Bill Johnson. Congressman Johnson, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good to be with you, Rich.
Well, first I want to start off by asking you, what have you been up to since being in recess?
Oh my goodness, we have been all up and down this district. Did take a few days. My 12-year-old son qualified for the YMCA's national regional swim competition.
It's fantastic.
And so we had a lot of fun watching him compete. That was quite an honor for him. So we did that, but since then we have been up and down this district from Portsmouth to Mahoning County and all areas in between, visiting the community health centers, speaking to NFIB groups, another one we're going to speak to today, talking to business owners, talking to constituents, having town halls, you name it, we've been doing it.
And you were also at the Mike Pence rally that was in Cambridge. You also spoke at the Donald Trump rally when he was in Belmont County just a few weeks ago.
I did.
So in the past, in the primaries, you and I talked, and you said there were some differences between Donald Trump and a lot of members of the party, including you. How have you come around, and what do you think has changed since then to now that you're willing to support him?
Well, what has changed is that the American voters have spoken. The Republican voters across the country decided that Donald Trump is our party's nominee. And when you contrast Donald Trump with Hillary Clinton, there's not a question about what the choice should be, because we know what Hillary Clinton stands for: shutting down the coal industry, putting restrictions on our ability to go after our oil and gas reserves, gun control, higher taxes. So there are a lot of things that contrast the two of them. So it's a pretty obvious choice.
Do you worry at all? Donald Trump, he's not a politician, and that's helped him a lot in this election. But it's also sort of shown its way in that he's not necessarily reacting like a politician would, a seasoned politician that is, to criticism, to other things. He tends to lash out a little bit. He makes jokes sometimes off the cuff that can go one way or another, interpretation-wise. Do you worry that he's not as seasoned in that regard, in his reactions?
Well, let me say that, first of all, I would agree with you that he's not seasoned. He is an outsider. I don't think in our history in America we've ever seen someone come from this far outside. At least in my study of American history and in my lifetime, we've never seen a candidate of a national party that has no military or political experience coming into the job. But I think Rudy Giuliani said it best the week after the RNC when he was asked, did the party come out unified? I think unity has improved, but is it really necessary in an environment like this where it's really an election of outsiders versus insiders? You've got the outsider Donald Trump opposing the self-appointed political elites of the Clinton machine that think they're above the law, that think that they don't have to comply with the law, that can lie to the American people and continue to get away with it. So I'm not sure how much party unity is going to weigh in to what the American people think and vote when they go to the voting booth this fall.
Well, speaking of that, the last few polls that have come out have shown that there was a bounce, obviously, after the DNC for Hillary Clinton, but it has stabilized a little bit. Some states, including Pennsylvania, as much as 10, 11%, the difference between she and Donald Trump, obviously battleground states. Are you worried if he ends up going down and perhaps not being close to Hillary Clinton, let alone not winning? Could this harm the Republican Party going forward?
Well, I mean, is it going to harm the party? History will write that story. I can't comment on that because he's our party's nominee. Anytime that we have a nominee that doesn't win the election, doesn't win the presidential election, it hurts the country because we believe that Republican principles of smaller government, fiscal responsibility, less intrusive government, more opportunities for the American people. We believe that those are the principles, and when we aren't able to move on those, it makes it very, very disappointing. But I will also say this, Frank Luntz, the guy on Fox News that does a lot of focus groups talking to the American people. He said something a couple of days ago that I think is very interesting. He said, you put 10 journalists at the national level. I'm not including you in this, Rich, but you put 10 journalists at the national level and you ask them, who do they think is going to win the election in November? They'll tell you they think Hillary Clinton's going to win. If you take 10 people off the street and ask them who they are going to support and who they think is going to win the election, 8 out of 10 of those people are saying Donald Trump. So you have to ask yourself the questions, how accurate are these polls? You know, these pollsters, much like the national media, they want to keep this fight stirred up because that keeps people watching their radio show or their television shows. And the pollsters, they want to keep on running polls because I know from personal experience that running these polls are very, very expensive and it costs these campaigns a lot of money. So as long as there can be controversy in the polls, those folks make a lot of money too. So
I suppose come November we'll find out how accurate.
Absolutely, because that's the point I was going to make. Polls do not win elections. Voters are the ones that determine election outcomes.
Well, you mentioned television a minute ago, and something that's going to be broadcasted on pretty much all the networks is the presidential debates. The first one is September 26th. I don't know if you and I will have a chance to speak before then. So how important do you think that first impression with the national audience against Hillary Clinton is going to be for Donald Trump?
There is no question that the debates are going to be important. They were important during the primaries, as you well know. The debates played a major, major role in Donald Trump systematically overcoming 16 very, very qualified and experienced competitors for the Republican nomination. So I think taking his message before the American people, I think you're going to see a fully engaged candidate in Donald Trump. I'm sure Hillary Clinton's going to come to the table feeling that she's equally prepared. But it's important for the American people to see the contrast between these two, and I think it will probably be one of the most watched presidential debates that we've seen in modern American history.
It would be stunning almost if it didn't set a record. Right?
That's right. I would agree. I know where I'm going to be.
Right. I want to switch topics totally.
Sure.
The cracker plant in Belmont County looks like it's moving in the right direction here for the people in this area. The Ari Burger plant, the stack was demolished. It was a very cool video.
Right.
We were there. Kind of a dramatic moment and a transitional moment for the region. What's your take on that?
I am as excited as the people who live here are. You know, this is a big deal, not only for our region, but for our state and for the nation. I've been engaged in this process from the outset. I have met with the contractor, the company, PTT Global Chemical. I have met with them here in Ohio. I've met with their chairman, their board. I'm planning to try and make a trip to Thailand to meet with them again here in the next month or two. And so it does look like the plan is moving in the right direction, and it's going to have profound implications. 45,000 new jobs, about $6 billion in additional wage earning potential for workers here, 10,000 construction workers to construct that plant over 5 years. And a $5 billion project that's going to boost the economy of our region. And that's just scratching the surface, Rich, because once that plant begins producing, processing that ethane and turning it into ethylene and polyethylene, that's a raw material used in plastics and textile manufacturing. And we know we have a lot of manufacturing facilities that are available here along the Ohio River. So we're already getting inquiries from manufacturers that want to come here and park their business over nearly a limitless source of abundant energy in oil and gas, and at the same time have access to that raw material. It's going to be a good day for Ohio.
It's certainly looking like an eventful few years coming up for the Ohio Valley. Congressman Johnson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Rich.
Always appreciate it.
Always good to be here.